Welcome back, guys. I'm just going to look at another couple of things for you. Maybe it might be helpful, especially as I say for new staff coming into the sector. Wheelchairs differ. Sometimes they're pretty heavy. Some of them have got self-propelling wheels. Some of them have got bits that come off, come down. The brakes work in different ways. So the most important thing is, even though you may be given training in a particular wheelchair, get to know the specific wheelchair you're actually going to use. So for this particular one, just so you can see, if you look down at the foot plates here, the foot plates can come round, they can go down and up like this. They're better to be out the way whenever we're doing any manoeuvre for like the hoisting and stuff like that, and that just clips round like that. They also come off, okay? They also come off. You can see the wheelchairs moving around here just now. So it can be a bit awkward, so sometimes you maybe have to put the brakes on. Just this is a proofing point, there we go. So if we look at the brakes on this particular one, traditionally on a bicycle, when you were riding a bike when you were younger, you would pull the brakes to come on, and then that will do it. But the best way for this one, for example, is down. Okay, so brakes down. If you look down at the wheels down here, there are two little footrests here, and these are to help you tip it up. Remember that when you're going down a curb, you must make sure that you're going down backwards, because otherwise the person might obviously fall out. People say, and if you bring the camera in, please, Sasha, that certain belts are a form of restraint, but in essence, if this is being used by somebody who needs to go out of the premises onto different floor levels, onto gravel, paths, etc., roads, pavements, this should be on, unless it states otherwise in the support plan. There may be some psychological reasons why somebody maybe doesn't need to have it on, but technically speaking, it's in the interest of health and safety, so that comes on. This particular one also has a feature whereby the back can come down. So these two things, and that will help you for getting a sling in or anything like that if you're trying to hoist somebody. So get to know the wheelchair that you're operating in, okay? So the next thing I'm going to show you is, and these are things which are not necessarily used a great deal nowadays, but they do have a purpose. I'll just put the brakes on this in case it rolls away. We actually have these which are called handling belts. They're not lifting belts. OTs and other professionals don't like them, or tend to say to people who work in the care sector to avoid using them because they're misused. Essentially, if you take one of these and you put it around the waist of the individual who's supporting, that you're supporting, should I say, and then clip it in with the actual clip here, pull it tight, and essentially this is for supported walking, okay? Be careful that you're not putting your arm completely through or anything like that, or your thumb just in. It should be an open hand so that you can release if need be. And it's just really for supported walking. If you look around the back, there's other loops here, and it's just really to help somebody. So if you look at my hands just now, basically you should have maybe one hand here, and then one round their back, and have it here or here. And then you're supported walking. Just in case the person falls, you can then call for help, get the other person to bring in a chair. Remember, if somebody falls, make sure you don't move them straight away. You need to check them over first aid wise to make sure they get no injuries, because in moving them you could exacerbate those injuries and cause more harm than good. So you might think it's a good thing to get somebody up from a floor and bring them up into a chair. Please don't do that. The other thing which I would just quite like to introduce you to is the hoist. Now the hoists come in many different formats. This is called a birdie, a compact birdie. You'll notice that there's various different flexes all hanging down here. I'll just take this handling belt off just now. The best thing is to get these well out of the way, okay? So this one here, okay, this one here, I would just take that off completely. Okay, that obviously is a plug for charging the actual hoist itself. Okay, if it's plugged in, it normally just goes underneath here and it's plugged into the wall. What actually happens is that it won't work because it will only work once it's unplugged. It has to be unplugged to work. Sasha, if you come round this way, please, I'm going to show the controls. Okay, so if you look at this panel here, this is actually the battery. The battery will come off and on like that. Okay, and that can go on a charge point, maybe on a socket in a room separate to that. Make sure when you put it back in, you click it in and you do that. Okay, it's got a red button down the bottom. What does that red button do? A lot of people maybe ask. Well, essentially, what's happening is this is moving this handheld here. So we look at this. This is moving up and down, up and down. A lot of the more modern ones will have a means of actually pressing another button left and right, or open and close for the legs. But this particular one just got up and down. If we go back down to the bottom, Sasha, thank you. And if we go like that, and we squeeze it in like that, okay, it means that it's pushed in and it deactivates the handset. So I'm pressing this, but it's not moving. As soon as we go back down to the button, Sasha, thank you. As soon as we release that, okay, then that will then work accordingly. Okay, we showed you earlier on how to put a sling on, so that's that. If we look down to the brakes, now the brakes are foot brakes, foot pedals, one on either side. Okay, we'll just get this one released as well. Sometimes you have to move that gently with your foot. Okay, and essentially those should only be on when it's stored, unless it says in the support plan. Back up to myself, thank you, Sasha. The brakes are only put on when it's stored up, because if you put the brakes on when somebody's up in the hoist, it actually makes it more unstable, because it's fighting against that equilibrium, that centre of balance. So we must make sure that the brakes are off when you're hoisting somebody, unless, and this might be a situation whereby maybe it's been used on a slope, or where the person's been used with to support. It could be bariatric, but quite frankly, a tracking hoist in the ceiling would be best for a bariatric individual. If we go back up onto the actual hoist itself, we'll take the brakes off. So you just flip these up like that, and we'll turn this round, okay? And what we need to do, excuse me, turn the back. Sasha, if you move over to this side, please. Okay, okay. So we've got here on the actual, this is called the boom, this is called the mast, and this is the safe working load, 150 kilograms. This is called the spreader bar because it spreads the load. So you basically loop the actual sling on the actual hoist and it lifts the person by working the remote control like that. Once the loops are on, you must make sure that the person is secure on the actual hoist before you do that, for obvious reasons. Essentially, we have got stickers on here. The stickers are on here are the service labels. Okay, the service labels. So this is an older one, and then the labels are on here. That basically tells me it's serviceable. These should be done every 6 months, okay, in operation. For training, we don't need to do that, but for yourselves, you need to do it every 6 months. So that's the working of a hoist. If there's any questions on anything else which we've covered on that, please speak to your line manager, speak to your support manager, and they will contact me. I look forward to seeing you again, maybe for some further training. Thank you very much.